One big team. One big team. One big team.
Hello and welcome to episode 75 of Riot Act, the alternative music podcast, the first of a brand new decade.
Whoa.
Wow. I'm Stephen Hill, living in the future. And this is Renfrey Deadman, still living in the past.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well,
If you will.
I'm more living in the past, to be fair.
Some of the things I'm going to say today probably will sound like I'm living in the past. Yeah.
Oh, the old men shout at cloud music podcast.
We should rename the
Old
show
men
that.
shout at SoundCloud rappers podcast. Before we kick off into the show, this week on the show, before we get any further into it, we're going to be back doing a normal kind of thing, reviewing stuff.
We're doing a normal show.
Pretty normal show.
It's felt not normal for so long.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it
it's
has.
quite nice to be back doing what we do.
Yeah. We're going to be reviewing new releases. I'm not going to say new albums because there's a couple of EPs. One, confusingly, an EP from Bring Me the Horizon, Beach Slang, Mono and A.A. Williams, and Aiming for Enrique. Want to say a big shout out to our buddies at Musicism, who obviously have blessed us with a plethora of stuff that you can see if you're on our YouTube channel in front of us. You can't see the light or the actual camera we film on YouTube because how would that work?
How would it work? We'd have to have two cameras.
Yeah, I mean, budgets don't stretch that far. Renfrey.
Not yet. Breaking the fourth wall. Yeah.
Yes, but Musicism by day, if you go to musicism.net, they provide you with internet online only courses to improve your skills as a musician. Singers, songwriters, producers, all that stuff, guitarists as well.
Predominantly to increase your skills rather than prove them. It's not like improving.
I said improve.
Oh, well, excuse me. I'm having difficulty
That's
hearing.
all right, don't worry. It's only $9.99 a month, and you can get 25% off of that $9.99 sum when you put Riot in capitals in the checkout over at musicism.net. So go over there and do that. Thanks very much. Let that be one of your New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
We should also say we did a couple of Rioteers reviews just before Christmas. One on this girl's short strut to the brassy front.
Brassy front?
Brassy front.
Brassy front.
Brassy front.
Brassy?
Hey, they're northern. That's how they used to say it.
But you're not.
Yeah, but I'm saying it in the way that they would say it.
More on that
Like Liam
on the old writer's review.
We also did Infinity Land. No, we did Vertigo of Bliss.
Vertigo of Bliss.
Yeah, I just thought about Infinity Land quite a lot while we were doing it. Vertigo of Bliss by Biffy Clyro. So they're up now. If you want to go over to our Patreon page, it's patreon.com/Riot Act Podcast. We'd appreciate you contributing. We will try and give you some more stuff. What happened over Christmas? Did you have a nice Christmas? You were ill, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I was ill on Christmas Day, which sucked balls, but it did give me the opportunity to stay in bed and catch up on some of the year's best movie releases. I finally... So you were very excited when you went to see this in the cinema. I saw Us.
Oh, I love Us.
Yeah, you're big into Us. I think Us was brilliant, and it was weird. I don't know if it's because I was in some weird sort of fluey state, but whilst watching it, I wasn't really enjoying it. And I felt very, very uncomfortable. But the more distance I've got from it, the more I think it's a brilliant film.
I think it's an absolutely excellent film. It is all of that. It's really a very unsettling film. And to be it's a big film. When you get these kind of like blockbuster art house films have becoming a sort of thing again, I think, in Hollywood, which is really cool.
I think it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I probably... Considering I wasn't feeling very well, I probably should have watched something like an Adam Sandler film.
Yeah, you should have watched the Fowley Brothers film.
You should never watch an Adam Sandler film. I also watched Booksmart. Do you know Booksmart?
I've not seen it, but I'm aware of what it is.
Oh, it's so good. Please watch Booksmart. It's fantastic. Like, you know when they do high school comedies and get them really right, when they do them really, really well. Just, fantastic film. I really enjoyed it.
Breakfast Club.
Wow.
Super bad.
Is Breakfast Club any good?
Yeah.
Nah.
I like it.
It's not dated very well.
No, that's all right. I watched, since she's jumped up, look at her little head on the YouTube channel. I watched Don't Fuck With Cats. And I would say, I'm struggling to think of something that has made me more angry than that.
What's Don't Fuck With Cats?
It's on Netflix. It's a documentary about someone who makes video. He does some appalling. It's horrible. It's horrible. I had to watch it all to make sure that there was some sort of resolution at the end, because I was like, Just don't understand how. Can you imagine hurting a little animal? Look at her. She's so innocent. Bonjour. Oh. But anyway, sorry. Just like it's really like jaw-droppingly like what the hell is going on here? And it's very good. But if you're squeamish and if you don't like kind of animal cruelty, then I would suggest you steer well clear of that because it's not nice at all.
Great. Well, I'll watch that as soon as I get home. Fantastic.
I
I also went to the cinema and watched the new Star Wars, which was completely meh. But I also saw Jojo Rabbit.
Oh yeah, I want to see that.
Are you a Taika Waititi fan?
I don't know. That name means nothing to me.
He done Hunt for the Wilder People, What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, I love What We Do in the Shadows.
He did Thor Ragnarok, which is actually one of the good Marvel films.
That's enough.
I want you to watch it, but I was quite disappointed with it. It's not great.
It looks good though. I think it looks really.
It looks brilliant. The trailer made it look amazing, but the jokes in the trailer hit better than they do in the context of the film. If that makes sense.
Did you watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's fine. Don't worry.
It is absolutely on my list, and the moment I watch it, I will make sure we talk about it.
I talked about it with. This is going to be an awful name drop because this is my girlfriend's friends with the movie critic James King from BBC Radio 2.
The boy James King.
James King, yeah. And I talked to him about it. He really likes it, and he's a sort of BAFTA member, and and he was like, "No, it's good," and I was like, "No, James, it's not."
I still want to go to tea with James King, and you won't let me do that, will you?
No, we can go for tea with James King
Hey.
if you like. Anyway, we should probably talk about music as well.
We should,
Yeah. While we were off and about, we went to see Berry Tomorrow, or I saw Berry Tomorrow. I don't know how much.
Baby Tomorrow. Is it my hearing or is it your pronunciation? I thought you said Baywee Tomorrow.
Berry Tomorrow.
Definitely heard Baywee.
Why would I say that?
Because you're mad. Because it's 2020 and you've
all
gone mad.
Rules have gone out the window. I saw Berry Tomorrow, and we also saw Employed to Serve, and I don't know if you saw a bit of them. I saw a little bit of Blood Youth as well.
Absolutely not. I did not. Nope.
Okay.
I only saw Employed to Serve, actually.
You saw Employed to Serve? Yeah, I saw you.
And then I fucked off because Berry Tomorrow do nothing for me.
Okay, well, let me talk about Berry Tomorrow. So I saw Blood Youth. Don't rate them on record, I have to say. I thought it was a little bit... I was talking to somebody about this, and I was like, the thing is, it's a bit... They're so meat and potatoes that I think I reviewed the album for Hammer, and I was like, it's so basic that I was just like... Pfft. But then actually, when you see it live, it does something to you that basic music can still sound good in a live environment. Do you know what I mean? It can still make you nod your head, and you can go, yeah. Just because it's basic. So I much preferred them live to how I do on record. Saying that though, when Employed to Serve came on, I mean the sort of the gap in quality was a chasm. You know what I mean? Because I thought Employed to Serve did fantastically well in what was a pretty difficult spot for them.
Yeah, it was.
It's not a completely natural fit. Berry Tomorrow and Employed to Serve. I think
not at all.
On paper, it might not necessarily work that well, but and I've heard they'd had like a couple of rough gigs on that tour, but they were fucking great in London, weren't they?
Yeah.
So good.
It was it wasn't a very full crowd and things like that, so there were a few things against them. I think the sound was a little rocky to begin with, but they just came out and they did their thing, and it was really cool to see those people up on that stage because
the people that were there by the end, I mean, you just had to look at the size of the circle pit by the time they finished.
Oh, people were going mad
and
for Employed, which was excellent.
It was great, it was big, and they just get better and better all the time, don't they? They're just an absolutely excellent band. And
pretty much.
Congratulations to Justine and Sammy on their nuptials.
Yes,
they're married now.
Yeah,
well done.
Well done for staying together.
Yeah. And Berry Tomorrow. So you didn't see any of Berry Tomorrow?
I walked in and I watched 30 seconds because I was told that I should see their light show, and I found it so abrasively offensive that I left.
What, the light show?
No, the music.
Wow. Just 30 seconds of that.
To be honest, it was more of a kind of, I'm cold, I want to go home, I've got wet socks.
If you will refuse to dry your socks, remember, you can't blame that on those tomorrow.
No, I'm being slightly facetious, but I walked in and saw 30 seconds and just went, I can't be arsed, and walked out, which is me not doing my job very well. But I
it's fine.
don't
Luckily,
care.
I was there and I saw the whole thing. And I probably have a slightly different opinion to Bury Tomorrow than you.
Yes, I imagine you do.
I like Bury Tomorrow. I don't think we've really spoken about him on this podcast before. I'm probably too scared to bring him up because I know you'll just dismantle them. But I think, again, for what they do, which is metalcore, and they are unashamedly like, we want to just be metalcore. We want to be the very kind of epitome of modern metalcore. I think they obviously do that very, very well. They do it a lot better than a lot of bands. And there's some, they've got a few absolute bangers. And again, they're not the most groundbreaking band. They're not the most innovative band. They're far from the most kind of creative and unique band in the world. Mm-hmm. But they do a type of music that feels good. And I think they do it with a kind of a passion and a realness that is really refreshing, but for that kind of Warped Tour metal. Mm-hmm. I think when you listen to Danny talk, he's very articulate and
I do like him in interviews.
Yeah, an interesting guy. He's a very intelligent guy. He's a very kind of sensitive dude as well. I think, after they finished playing, I went and stood. I saw Bradley from The Conjurers.
I saw Bradley
for Employed to Serve.
I threw a polo at him.
Had a chat. You saw?
I threw a polo at him. I'd like
you?
to shout out Serena for giving me her polo. But I threw a polo at Brady.
Shouldn't do that, mate.
No, I shouldn't really.
Cultural appropriation, probably. I don't know.
Is it?
That's what you say now, isn't it? Yeah, so I was talking to Brady and I saw Justine and the guys, and then I went downstairs and it was probably a good hour after they had Bury Tomorrow come off stage, and they had literally come off stage, put their instruments down, walked straight into the foyer of the Roundhouse, and they were all still there, signing stuff, chatting to people, pressing the flesh. No other band who gets to the point where they headline the Roundhouse.
Pressing the flesh?
Yeah.
Am I going to have to cut that?
No, of course you're not. That's a saying, isn't it, for, schmoozing with people.
Oh.
Have you never heard pressing the flesh?
Well, I've heard it
means
in different contexts.
Okay, well, it means to kind of go out and shake hands and, be amongst people.
It's not what it means when I press the flesh.
but you're a disgraceful pervert. So... and I was really, really impressed by that. And, they did Black Flame in full, which I thought was pretty brave.
That's their new record, right?
That's the 5th record, yeah. It's not that new. It came out in 2018. But it's the newest record. They do have a new one coming out, I believe, soon. And I was like, it's just felt just as big as a quote-unquote greatest hit set. And even when they came back on for an encore to do the greatest hit set, they didn't really play it easy. There was a whole bunch of stuff from Earthbound and, like An Honourable Rain and all the stuff from Union of Crowns that they didn't even bother playing. And I was like, wow. And they still, kept my interest for the whole thing. I thought they were very good. They're a very good band at doing that type of thing. It's not my favourite type of thing in the world, but they are good at doing that.
They seem like nice people.
They are nice people. Anyway, that's what I think. John Frusciante joined the Red Hot Chili Peppers again for the third time. Rejoined for the third time. That's... I can't pretend to muster any excitement for this, I've got to be honest. Are you excited? Does this mean anything, Renfrey, to you?
I'm mildly excited because the majority of my love for Red Hot Chili Peppers is reserved for John Frusciante.
Oh.
However, I do feel like it is pretty... I have a bit of a weird thing with Chili's. I remember getting really excited about The Getaway as well because it was produced by Danger Mouse.
Yeah.
And the idea of Danger Mouse producing a Red Hot Chili Peppers album in my head sounded fucking incredible. And then the results were... meh.
Fuck me, they weren't even that good.
I liked it more than you did, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time defending it because I don't think there's a lot to defend.
I mean, bar a couple of songs, I have hated everything they've put out post One Hot Minute. I hate Californication. I hate By the Way. I hate Stadium Arcadium. I hate the other one, whatever that's called, the one with the guy in the baseball cap on playing guitar. And I hate the last one as well. They're rubbish.
Lovely. I don't feel that way. I mean, I really like By the Way. We've had this discussion before. I think half of Californication's great. I think it's got some terrible, dubious material on it. I actually genuinely think, I know this is such a common thing to say about double albums, but I genuinely think Stadium Arcadium could have made a very good latter day Red Hot Chili Peppers single album.
Danny California is a good song.
Danny California's great. Snow Hey-O.
Don't know.
Brilliant.
Yeah, as if I've listened to Stadium Arcadium any time in the last 14 years.
I can't even remember I'm With You. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not that excited. Nah. It'll be fine.
Nah. It won't be fine. It'll be awful. But anyway, John Frusciante's back in the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, there's people getting excited about that, like they're going to be good, and it's like they weren't good when he came back last time. Like Dave Navarro leaving, they might as well just close the.
Yeah, but that is not a popular opinion. I mean, they
the
had
right opinion.
They had a career renaissance. You know.
Yeah, well, fuck that.
I mean, Californication was a massive record. You couldn't escape it in the summer of 99.
No, I tried. Believe me.
You're not a Scar Tissue fan?
I remember buying Scar Tissue on single and putting it on and being like, wow, I really hate this song.
Really?
I really, really, really hate this.
Really
and then the album came out the next week and I thought, well, that's a really odd choice of single because it's really bad, that song. And then getting the album and going, oh, it's the best song on the album.
Around the world? Around the world. I feel beautiful.
See, I like that when I first heard it. And now I listen to it and I just think, this is dreadful. I think it's a dreadful record, Californication. It's really bad. It's really bad.
It's all right.
It's not all right. It's rubbish.
It's a weird record. In my opinion, the good songs are really good. I mean, you obviously disagree with that, but the bad songs
I like dirt.
Well,
what is that
the
for?
bad songs, like I Like Dirt, Purple Stain, Get On Top, are fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
But the Chili's do that. What pisses me off about the Chili's is they usually give you a couple of reasons, a couple of songs every album that reminds you that they are capable of doing amazing stuff still.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have many good albums at all, do they?
They certainly have more misses than hits. If you're looking at them as albums...
I'd argue, in terms of actually good, like albums, and you go, that is a good record, it's probably 2, maybe 3 at best.
Nah, I'm kinder to Chili's than that. I would say, and feel free to disagree, I think Uplift Mofo Party Plan is great.
Oh, really? I think it's a fucking mess, that album.
Oh, it's great. Do I think Mother's Milk is great? I don't think Mother's Milk is great, but I think it's good.
I would put Mother's Milk in the good category.
Okay, all right, fine. Blood Sugar, obviously.
Is good, yeah, great.
We probably disagree on One Hot Minute. I know you love it.
Amazing. It's the best one, by far.
Fine. I'm going to throw By the Way in there as well. I think By the Way is great. By the Way is my second favourite Chili Peppers album.
That's mad. Okay. Anyway, so the Red Hot Chili Peppers getting that lift, that massive gravy train with System of a Down and Rage Against the Machine. Oh, they were fucking bad. But it is 20. We should probably talk about the fact that we're entering a new year, we're entering a new decade. What are your hopes? What are you looking forward to in this year and broader in the decade to come, Renfrey, would you say?
You go first because I made a list.
I
am about to bring it up and I forgot it.
Fair enough. Well,
I've got it. Hey.
Oh, okay.
There's a new Caspian record out very, very soon. I'm very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to the new Trail of Dead record. Loathe album.
Yeah,
they're releasing their second album.
You've been familiar with that, right?
Yes. Haggard Cat are releasing a new album. Weezer releasing Van Weezer.
I'm terrified.
Apparently it's going to be an album
Apparently it's gonna be an album.
But inspired by Van Halen. Yay! New Code Orange.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, right, okay. What do you want to say?
Well, I just think in terms of, we sort of bemoaned the evolution of heavy music a little bit last year, and it's quite hard to look beyond Code Orange for a band who are going to be able to, kind of shake the scene up in a wider sense.
This is something we said in our albums of the decade.
Well, yeah.
Part two.
Both of us had Forever in our top 10 records of the decade.
Yes.
I would say it's the best heavy album of that decade for me. Like, pretty like, I'm pretty firm on that. I think it is in terms of just heavy. Like we have a broader palette on this show, so there might be other things that would come in or whatever. But in terms of heavy music, hardcore, metal, whatever, Forever by Code Orange is the fucking gold standard. And I just can't imagine how they could top that. Imagine if they top that. I mean, we've talked about like Behemoth having to follow up The Satanist, talked about Architects having to follow up All Our Gods.
I think this is the thing. Most of the time,
you're gonna hide into nothing, aren't you?
Most of the time, bands don't. So
yeah. So
maybe approach with caution.
But can you imagine what would it take to be able to top an album as good as Forever? I mean, for me,
band like Code Orange, probably.
Yeah, it would be very, 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 very difficult. And if you were to ask me now, as someone who hasn't heard the record, I'd say no, there's no way that they could top that. But then once I hear it, who knows what I'd say.
Very cryptic. Shall we move on? There's a new record by Deftones due this year. So
yeah, that's good, isn't
about that. We should get a new Every Time I Die, hopefully this year. New Gojira, I hope.
Yeah, again, Gojira, that's really, for heavy music, I feel like a lot of the very best heavy bands from the last decade, maybe decade and a half, are going to be coming back this year. Lamb of God.
Lamb of God, yeah.
Lamb of God have a new drummer. I'm hoping that, the last couple of Lamb of God records haven't really hit me as hard as, that run of, basically the first 1, 2, 3, 4, like the first 4 basically, I think are just amazing.
I've liked the new records, but
first 5 actually.
Wrath. Is that Wrath?
Wrath. I think actually, Wrath's probably my favourite one actually. No, I don't know. Anyway, Lamb of God are amazing.
Yeah.
But the last couple I've been like, yeah.
Apparently we'll get a new Ghost album this year. So I heard.
Well, maybe. I mean, that's, again, it would be huge.
Yeah.
Don't really know what I'd want Ghost to do.
Apparently they're going heavier, but then most bands say that about metal bands say that about albums they're about to release. If they're metal bands. Mastodon, supposedly new record. I think they will be. There'll be a new record by Mastodon.
Again, that would be interesting after sort of Emperor of Sand. Be interesting to see, because Emperor of Sand was sort of erred more back to the Crack the Sky feeling, didn't it?
Yes.
And last time they did that, they followed it up with 2, far more instantaneous and sort of accessible records.
I would expect Mastodon to do something totally different. Like they have, I suppose you could argue they've repeated tricks in their career, but they don't tend to repeat them from album to album, if that makes sense. 9 Inch Nails apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, again, a couple of years since, well, it will be a couple of years since we got Bad Witch, which I think since returning, Bad Witch for me is the sort of creative high point.
It's
9 Inch Nails
fucking brilliant.
It's fucking great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great record. I think there's some excellent songs dotted across the previous 2 EPs, and certainly on Hesitation Marks. I think Hesitation Marks has got a couple of absolute rages on it. But as a cohesive body of work, Bad Witch I think is far and away the best thing 9 Inch Nails have done.
Agreed. Totally.
Yeah.
It was since they've come back, you mean? Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic about a new Pearl Jam album. I mean, I'm sure it will come out this year, but
Well, they're
hoping
doing
it'll be good.
Hyde Park.
They are doing Hyde
the
Park
summer.
indeed. Yep.
It's pretty cool.
And a bunch of European dates, 3 of which I'm going to.
With the Pixies in tow at Hyde Park as well. Amazing.
Yeah, at Hyde Park, not for the whole tour, unfortunately. Although they are doing some dates with Idols, which would be cool in Europe.
I would expect to see Idols on that bill at Hyde Park as well.
Yeah, I would imagine so. What else? Do you know Sordade? Sordade. It's a new Chino project.
No, I don't. No.
Fuck, who is it? It's Chino and someone else. I'll look it up in a sec.
Okay.
But they released a couple of songs, like a couple of years ago now, and supposedly they're releasing their debut this year. New Turnstile record.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We should finally get that record by The Cure. I fucking hope we get that
Yes,
record.
I mean that's one that that feels like The Cure have always been massive, but I feel like The Cure have jumped back or have become a seriously classic band over the last few years, kind of post the Glastonbury performance, Robert Smith's Meltdown, the Cure Nation, kind of the anniversary shows that they did a couple of years ago. I think The Cure are kind of back in people's vision again, a bit like they were, just pre the breakout of emo in the sort of early 2000s. You remember, like, The Cure were huge. When we were growing up, The Cure were one of the biggest bands, weren't they? They were absolutely massive. And then in the mid to late 90s, they kind of, their profile dipped a lot. And then suddenly you had all these emo bands going, oh my God, Robert Smith, oh my God, The Cure. Yeah. And they became like a really big deal again. And then it felt like it sort of dipped again. And now they're back.
Yeah. They're very much back now, I think, and like, but it's weird though, because they haven't released any new record, but then I suppose you don't have to do that to become big.
Well, you got a back catalogue like that. Fuck me.
Yeah.
You don't need anything.
Sordade is Chuck doing Chino Marino and Dr. No from Bad Brains.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, cool. Great.
So that will be great, I imagine.
New Aussie?
I thought we were talking about albums we were excited about.
Oh, you're not excited about New Aussie?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm going to throw in
big?
Youth Code as well, actually, just because they are an exciting new band. I think they're fucking great. And they're releasing I think it's their debut. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, they'll be releasing their album.
All right,
Sorry, you were going to say something?
Well, just some really big ones. Obviously, we're going to get that Green Day album as well, aren't we?
Yay.
Yeah, bit worried about what I have to say about that.
I love
We're
Green
going to
Day.
get big records from 1975. We're going to release another record. They're pretty much the biggest of the newer group of those sort of indie band. Well, any of these British bands at the moment. Although he's turned into I don't know if he's turned into a real like pretentious twat or if he just was a pretentious twat, but we'll see. Because that last album grew on me quite a lot. And we're going to get a new Alanis Morissette album.
Yes.
I don't know if people in general will be excited for that, but I fucking am. The Strokes are going to have a new album out as well, I believe, this year.
Okay.
We've sort of had a little wee chat about the Strokes.
Do you know what? I've never even bothered to properly check out the Strokes. I don't think I've even listened to Is This It in full or.
Oh, fucking hell, really? Okay.
New.
That is the classic record. Obviously, not entirely convinced it's their best record.
Like the follow-up got a lot of good press, didn't it?
Which is great. No, I think that's a really good record.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called now.
And I think, bands like that are so... Oh, this is going to be a weird comparison. But if any of you saw Craig David performing on New Year's Eve, right? It's so dated. Because UK garage was so cool in, like, the kind of the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and it was such a zeitgeisty thing. You listen to it now, and it just sounds like that time. Like, do you know what I mean? It is so like that particular very mainstream version of what garage was. And that, listening to Craig David, I was like, my God, this is dated so badly. And I feel like a lot of those, I mean, particularly because they were crap, but a lot of those mid-noughties indie bands, they've not really been able to do anything which doesn't sound dreadful for a long time. I mean, I wouldn't say it was dreadful, but that last Interpol album that we reviewed,
it was just very ho-hum.
It was really ho-hum. And so if anyone's ever going to be able to do it,
you think it'd be the Strokes?
I think the Strokes would have a better chance of doing it than most of them. Might be, only because they were the sort of figureheads, weren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess this is not my area. I mean, I suppose it depends who Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to new music by the Libertines, for example, it's pretty embarrassing. You know, if you listen to even I really like Block Party, and the last Block Party album was.
I love the first record.
Yeah.
Beyond
First two
that,
are great. Yeah.
Weekend in the City is very good.
Yeah. Also, last one that I've got here on a list is Avenged Sevenfold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite interested to see what Avenged Sevenfold will do,
Mm-hmm.
purely because I thought the stage was one of those records that was sort of unfairly maligned because of its critical performance, but then it was released in a really weird way.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It was kind of surprise released, and I think we'll talk a little bit about bands trying to do things differently and being brave, and sometimes it doesn't always come off.
Mm-hmm.
But if Avenged make another record that is of a similar quality to the stage, like I've actually gone back to Hail to the King, which I was very, very, very against when it came out. I really hated it, and I'm not a massive Avenged Sevenfold fan, to be fair. I'm not a massive fan at all. I only really like kind of one or two of their records, really.
City of Evil and The Stage are the only ones I return to.
They're probably my favourite too, actually. I've thought out a lot to Hail to the King and the self-titled. I really didn't like the self-titled. I don't get this love for Waking the Fallen. I just think it's like fucking Darkest Hour, but not as good in it. Really.
I think it's got good moments, Waking the Fallen, but it's it's too long.
Yeah.
My first
too long
with the decade.
But they're a massive, massive, massive band, and if they're the one that everyone thinks is going to take over from Metallica, Guns N' Roses, whatever. I sort of feel like they need to produce something.
Because I really liked the stage, and I think the stage is fantastic. Actually,
yeah,
I think it's a really good album. But because I liked the stage, I don't think I'm going to like this new album, because just like Mastodon, I think Avenged Sevenfold have repeated tricks that they do in their career, but they don't tend to repeat them from album to album. And I don't think we will get a Hail to the King Part 2, but I would imagine it will be more Hail to the King-esque than it is the stage-esque, which is the side of Avenged that I'm less interested in.
I'm the same, although, like I say, I don't know. There's something nice and chunky about Hail to the King, which I probably just was like, it's really basic, and it just sounds like Metallica when I first heard it. But actually, the songs really kind of, when you're in the mood for just that straight black album, like don't. Actually, it's really good.
I should go back to it. I don't think I've listened to it probably since the week it was released, I imagine. Yeah, I mean, the stage and City of Evil are the only ones that I go back to with any sort of regularity. Occasionally go back to Waking the Fallen, but yeah.
Fair. All right. Well, there you go. That's a little roundup of some things that we're vaguely excited about for the coming year or so. Let's start with our first review of the decade, and it is a big one. A very, very, very big one. And I'm not just talking about the title. Bring Me the Horizon. Music to listen to, dance to, blaze to, pray to, feed to, sleep to, talk to, grind to, trip to, breathe to, help to, hurt to, scroll to, roll to, love to, hate to, learn to, plot to, play to, feel to, be to, breathe to, sweat to, dream to, hide to, live to, die to, go to, is the name of their EP.
I think you mixed up Be and Feel, but apart from that, I'm very happy with that.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
didn't I?
Do you want to do it again?
No, never again.
Title almost as long as the EP.
Yeah, well, you'd think it's as long as a normal EP. Apparently, this is an EP, although it is weirdly longer than any of the albums that Bring Me the Horizon they've ever released.
Yeah.
So it's the longest thing they've ever released, yet it is an EP. It dropped the day after Boxing Day. It's full of collaborations, including collaborations with big people like Halsey and people that we quite like Lotus Eater.
I have a theory as to why it's an EP.
Go on.
Because I think they want to... I want to word this correctly. I was going to say distance themselves from it. That's not what I think, but I don't think they want people to see this as a quote-unquote proper Bring Me the Album.
That would make sense.
Bring Me the Album, Bring Me the Horizon album, because this is a very experimental record.
Yeah.
It's primarily You know this for a fact that it's primarily Jordan Fish behind this one, and it certainly sounds like it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think before we go into the actual music and stuff, we should probably address the fact that a weird kind of chasm appears to have opened up in Bring Me the Horizon's, in the opinion of Bring Me the Horizon. Now, when Bring Me the Horizon first came out, there was a fence, and you sat on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. On one side of the fence was a bunch of deathcore loving, young, kind of scene kids, and on the other side of the fence was a load of serious metal people who thought Bring Me the Horizon were the worst thing in the world. So you've got a bunch of people who love Bring Me the Horizon, and then you've got a bunch of people who absolutely despise them. And it felt for a very, 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 very long time like there was no they're all right. There was no middle ground.
Yes, it certainly felt like that. I mean, obviously the internet exacerbates these things and so on and so forth, but yes, I understand exactly.
And then as their career progressed, and particularly with the release of Sempiternal, which I felt thawed a lot of people out to them.
Myself included.
Yeah. It felt like people started to come around to Bring Me the Horizon a little bit more.
Yeah.
But then with That's the Spirit, which relied far more heavily, even more so, on the kind of the contribution of Jordan Fish, and then with Ammo, which weirdly seems to have got a reaction which I think That's the Spirit probably should have got, because Ammo is a heavier record than That's the Spirit, I think. There's more metal-y moments on it. I know there's obviously the infamous heavy metal song where he basically slags off people who saying they're not a metal band anymore.
Yeah.
And now this fence seems to have been joined by another group of people, a group of people who have got into Bring Me the Horizon post either Sempiternal or That's the Spirit, who love the fact that Bring Me the Horizon are, you know, a zeitgeisty pop band, who love the fact that they're using electronics and they're doing songs with Halsey, and, you know, they're taking Skrillex out on tour with them. Not Skrillex, sorry, Scarlord, Skrillex, and taking Scarlord out on tour with them, and who love all this new stuff and love the kind of the Jordan Fish kind of modern pop, auto-tuney kind of experimentation and the big kind of poppy songs. And those kids who were the scene kids have basically all jumped over to the other side of the fence and are now going, "Wah, where's my metal band? Wah!" And the people who always said,
do you think people are still saying that about Bring Me?
Yeah. Yeah. That there are a load of like their old fans who are now fucking furious. And the people who were like metal fans in the first place, the kind of the small-minded metal fans who went, "No, look at their t-shirts, they can't be a metal band," whilst totally ignoring how heavy they were, and now turn around and going, "Oh, they've gone pop and they've sold out," and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you thought they were that anyway. Yeah. You fucking idiot. So Bring Me the Horizon have made what is this, like 75-minute long?
It's 75 minutes and 31 seconds, Steve.
75-minute long EP, which, as you say, is mostly made up of Jordan Fish, from the mind of Jordan Fish, which features practically nothing to do with even guitar music at all.
There's very, I would say, I mean, the majority of this record sounds like a solo Jordan Fish project, collaborating with Ollie Sykes and a bunch of guests.
Yeah.
The rest of the band, I imagine, it sounds like, had very little to do with it.
Yeah.
Hence even more of a reason to sort of describe it as an EP rather than a new album and, you know, surprise release it and all this nonsense.
But what I want to say is that I've seen people going, "They've sold out, they've fucking done this. Why, they used to be a metal band, they used to be so heavy, go back to deathcore, why they sold out, why, all this shit." Ridiculous. This is not a sellout. This is a brave move. It is something that they should be applauded for. It is refreshing to see a band step out of their comfort zone. It is refreshing to see a band who are in the mainstream, who have decided not to make an album just to appeal to the mainstream. It is good to see a band continuing to fuck with people's preconceptions of what they are. It's all of those things. The one thing this EP will never be is any good.
Yeah. I totally agreed.
So, congratulations, Bring Me the Horizon. This is a very worthy and good thing that you've done here.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to shit on it because fair play, you have stepped way outside your comfort zone, and it is very brave to put a 24-minute long song, like a 12-minute long song on an EP, and it'd be so different from anything you've ever done before. Unfortunately, you can't. There's more fat on this than a cheap Asda steak.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I agree with you in terms of like the manner in which it's been released and stuff like that. I think if you're going to do things like we tend to champion bands when they do things out of their comfort zone and do things that are a bit different. And, you know, surprise releases, while slightly irritating for us, are generally, I think, a really cool thing and all that sort of thing. I like a lot of the stuff that has happened around this record and around the release of it and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like after hearing this, you can never tell me that a post-rock song repeats itself too much because holy shit.
Yeah.
I think the thing with this is it is enormously self-indulgent to the point where most people... Only hardcore Bring Me the Horizon fans are going to listen to this more than a few times, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to it twice, and I feel like the idea of putting it on again terrifies me.
I listened to it twice, and actually, generally, I will say, we usually listen to stuff more than 2 times to review it. But to be honest, I felt like I'd heard everything I needed to hear, because whilst it is...
First time around, I felt like that. I nearly didn't even bother with the second listen.
Yeah, I mean... whilst it is 75 minutes, I would say it only has about 20 minutes of ideas on it.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of, I mean, look, all bands, the majority of bands, 97% of bands use Pro Tools or some sort of digital creation software to help them edit and mix stuff. But when Pro Tools was becoming a thing, and that there was, you know, people complaining about Kid A and stuff like that, because you'd play a few bars of something and then you'd copy and paste it and just loop it over and over and over again. This is that, it feels like that kind of Pro Tools in that it just, it feels like there's a lot of copying and pasting and a lot of stuff which just goes on way, way, way too long. And, you know, other elements will come in, but those other elements just aren't interesting enough to sustain the song or the length, the ridiculous lengths that some of these songs are. We'll go into the 24-minute song.
Yeah,
because that is a talking point.
Yeah.
But there's that 24-minute song. There's 2 songs which are just over 10 minutes, and you know, there's some which are like 6 and 7 minutes. And it, do you know what? This album, there is a weird sort of hypocrisy with this album in a weird way, because I agree with you. It's not a move. It's not a selling out move. It's certainly not. You don't put a 24-minute song on a release if you're trying to appeal to the mainstream or anything like that. I think the hypocritical part comes in with so much of this record. I was listening to it and I thought, I would hear this sort of thing on Radio 1. I feel like the palette used is largely ordained and taken from pop music. Some of it modern, but some of it, a lot of it felt very 90s nostalgic dance.
There's a bit where it does go to dun 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 dun. That classic. If you remember the kind of pop music in the 90s in the charts from sort of 1993 to about 1997, that every single song had a dun 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 on a sort of Casio keyboard. Right?
Yeah,
there's one of them. I can't remember what song it is now. I think it's A Devastating Liberation. I think. It might not be that. It might be Candy Truck. I mean, fuck me, it all blurs into one, and it's so weird.
I think it is Candy Truck, actually.
Yeah, I think it is. But that comes in, and I was like, it sounds like "What Is Love" by Hadaway.
Yeah, there's a very distinct. It's difficult to describe it, but there is a very distinct synthesized 90s piano sound, which you just know it when you hear it. And like a lot of this reminded me of stuff like Children by Robert Miles.
Yeah.
Or 9 p.m. Till I Come by ATB.
Yeah.
Now, look, I hated that stuff then. I certainly don't like it now, and I don't think it's dated very well. Being the age that they are, I'm guessing Bring Me the Horizon grew up on that stuff, so they might have a sort of nostalgia for it. But I kind of think that stuff was shit then, and it's shit now. I am not an expert on dance music or electronic music, but don't know. I know people who are, and I don't know many people who go, oh yeah, the mid to late 90s boom, that was a really good time for electronic music.
Well, it was a time when it became
very successful.
Yeah, hugely successful, and it kind of, there's parallels to be made with new metal.
I was about to say there are parallels to be made with new metal. Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I think there's a lot of that. I also think what makes something like Selected Ambient Works by Aphex Twin a really brilliant record is the fact that Aphex Twin, there's songs on that's 17, 18 minutes long, but he knows, and you again, that post-rock comparison where you don't really necessarily see how the stuff moves until it's already moved, and then you're like, oh, I didn't really notice that. So it can kind of feel like, oh, this is a bit repetitive, but actually it's not. It sort of slowly morphs very, very. It's
making changes subtly that you're not necessarily perceiving it live, so to speak, but it is happening. Whereas this does feel copied and pasted.
I mean, this is just the same beat for a very long time. I mean, and there are moments on it that I put it on yesterday. My girlfriend was like, "Oh, I really like this." I was like, "You're fucking kidding me!
Yeah,
you're kidding me!" Like someone who doesn't care about dance music at all, and it just, you're right to say that the stuff that is borrowed from. I think this is aiming more for a DJ Shadow, an Aphex Twin. One of those Boards of Canada, the kind of acts that we talk about where we actually go, these are really cool, interesting electronic bands, or kind of cut and pasty hip hop bands, that trip hop stuff, that whole movement that came out of that period. I think parts of this and a lot of this aims for that, but unfortunately, you're a metal band and you can't go from writing a song with Danny Filth to getting that type of music that right.
I don't even know if I want to say that really, because I don't think you should confine Bring Me to metal band and metal band alone. But what I will say,
I'm not. But
what I will say is history has dictated that they are better at being a metal band than they are at a lot of other things, particularly this stuff.
They were a bad metal band when they started off.
Oh, they were dreadful.
If this is something they want to do, and they're going to get better and better at doing it. I mean, if this is fucking Count Your Blessings or What the Edge of Your Seat Was Made For, if this is their version of that, but doing electronic music, then who knows? In 3-4, they might make a sempiternal of, kind of ambient music, which is really good.
I don't think they will, though.
Well, no. Hey, but look, nobody thought they could have done that back in the day when they made those first EPs, and they were fucking rubbish. Like, no one ever would have seen an album like Sempiternal or There Is a Hell coming from that band. So no. I'm not going to completely write off the fact that they couldn't do it. But what I'm saying is, at the moment, they're not capable of doing that.
Totally.
And Jordan is really, really fucking super talented.
I think Jordan Fish is by far the most talented and interesting member of that band.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird because...
So I was actually somewhat excited to hear this.
Yeah.
I was disappointed very quickly, but at first I was somewhat excited.
Well, let's add in the fact here that, I mean, this is a boring, pretty boring for the most part, EP, this. But if it had been an instrumental EP, it would have just been like, this kind of doesn't really work.
Yes.
When you add in the performance of Ollie Sykes on this record, that's when this goes from being just a bit something which, an experiment which hasn't really paid off, to something which is bad.
Yes.
Because Ollie Sykes on this record, now, I don't want to fucking kick off at Ollie Sykes,
I will.
I'm sure you will. Enough people have done that over the time, about, his lyrics are this and his lyrics are that. I guess we have to talk about Underground Big, Head Full of Hyena.
Yep.
24 minutes and 6 seconds. About, what is it, about 7-8 minutes into it?
No. It is, I think I wrote it down. It's more like 5 minutes into it.
Yeah, okay.
So most of the song, 19 minutes and 8 seconds of that 24 minutes and 6 seconds. I like being exact, is a repeated electronic hook. When I say repeated, I mean cut and paste, which has Ollie Sykes kind of rambling over the top of it.
I mean, absolutely. I was thinking we had to hire some sort of psychiatrist to come in and review this while we were this week because there are people in the world of music who probably could talk for 20 minutes over that and it would be at least interesting.
Ollie Sykes is not one of them.
But Ollie Sykes, unfortunately, Ollie, you are not one of them.
I think if you're... Look, Ollie Sykes is a profoundly boring man. He is. He's like, he'd probably admit it himself. He's not very interesting. You've interviewed him a bunch of times.
No, I haven't. I've never interviewed him.
Have you never interviewed him?
I've interviewed Jordan and I've interviewed the drummer.
Oh, okay. Well, I
ever tell you about when I interviewed the drummer? And,
I don't think so.
And I went, it was when they confirmed for Wembley. It was about 6 months before they did Wembley. And I was like, oh, you're doing Wembley? That's exciting. I was like, what's your next sort of goal? Do you want to like get up to sort of festival headlining? Is that the next thing? Do you want to headline download? Do you like to headline Glastonbury? And he went, you what? I went, do you want to headline Glastonbury? And he went, oh, right, yeah, all right then, yeah. I was like, I'm not Michael Eavis, mate. I'm not. What? Like he totally zoned out and just, I don't know. Did you forget who I am? I'm like, oh yeah, God, yeah, all right. We'll headline Glastonbury. Yeah. I was like,
I think this just sort of proves that Ollie Sykes is one of the least interesting frontmen in rock music, doesn't it?
Yeah,
or in music, full stop.
There's something really, and someone who thinks he's going, oh, I'm really stupid, and what do I know? But I just feel that human beings have a sixth sense, but because of all the shit that we do, we'll never know what it is. And it's like, mate, you're not like
I think we've got
interesting or
no, exactly
inspiring or intelligent or well thought out or meaningful in any way whatsoever.
I think we got more than 5 senses, but we're never going to find out any of the senses because we're so fucking busy, so wrapped up, so caught up in what we are actually doing every single day. Like, think when someone discovered fire. What the fuck would that have looked like? How?
It's up there with like Magnets by Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, it's utterly, it's just so.
And he's like, then he
stupid.
starts talking about how someone compared them to Evanescence, and he's like, yeah, we do sound a bit. And then he starts talking about whales, and you can see whales.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in another track actually, but
he admits he can't sing. That they use auto-tune all the time.
Yeah.
Daryl Palumbo's the reason that he started singing, apparently.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he admits that they nicked a melody from Evanescence, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think some people...
Can you imagine if you got Tom Waits doing that?
Yeah, exactly. I think.
I mean, that is some jump in it, to be fair. But I'm just saying, there are people in the world... Because again, like we were listening to me and my girlfriend, she said, how... This is so fucking pretentious. This is so like fart sniffy. She's like, no one could pull this off. How could anyone pull off? What is it like? 19.
It's 19 minutes and 8 seconds
of talking just randomly round. And I was
Nick Cave could.
Yeah, there are people who could.
Yeah,
there are people who could. It's like there's that bit in Extras where he says, some people are really successful and some people are really critically acclaimed. And a very, very, very tiny amount of people are both those things. But you, Ollie, will never be one of them.
I think this is the thing. Like, Ollie Sykes is just not an interesting person at all. I'm sorry, he just isn't. He's not vaguely interesting. And that's fine. Like you don't have to be interesting, but don't give your frontman 19 minutes to wang on about fucking the universe, life, the universe, and everything. If you're a really boring cunt, just don't bother. Like it's just a total waste of time. And like I can imagine idiots sitting down. And
I mean, I was about to say the reaction of people going, "Oh my god!" So I've seen tweets of people going like, "Oh, it made me cry." What Ollie was saying, I was like, "Yeah, it made me fucking cry as well." Like having to sit through that. It's just like, mate, come on.
It's fucking stupid.
It's really, it's so bad. And the thing is, like the Upside Down. So one of the few tracks that isn't ludicrously long, even though 5 minutes and 13 seconds feels quite long, But the Upside Down ? Song, the one with Halsey, that's actually a good song.
That's all right, yeah.
It's a song. You go, well, fucking hell, you've written an actual song. And it's quite good.
I think, again, though, I would say, and this is an issue I had with Ammo as well, and just an issue that I have with Latter Day Bring Me the Horizon. I find so often that I like moments, but I very rarely like an entire song. And I would say that with Ammo. I'd say that with That's the Spirit. And I'd certainly say it with this. There's only one song on this entire EP that I would say I like from beginning to end, and that is A Devastating Liberation, which has sort of nice sense of dread and menace to it. It feels like it's scoring like the reveal of a like enemy in a Marvel film or something like that. It's only 4 minutes and 40 seconds and it's instrumental, so you know.
Yeah,
that's
it's all right. I mean, that's good as well.
But there are good moments on this record, but they're just really, really fleeting. And they're usually buried in a song which is covered in thick, tarry shit as well. And like, this sounds like the sort of EP that was cobbled together in a week or two.
Yeah.
And like, it's fine to do that. And especially releasing it the way that Bring Me have, as like a surprise thing. There's been no build up to it, no anticipation. If you're going to do that. But, you know, when Alice in Chains went into the studio for a week, they came out with Jar of Flies. When Bring Me go in, I mean, I don't know if they went in for a week. Maybe they've been working on this for 6 months. I don't know. It fucking doesn't sound like it. It sounds like they did it in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference that we're talking. There's people who can do it. That's the difference between great artists and not great ones. You know, you go into the studio for a short amount of time and you come up with this incredible 30-minute EP in the form of Jar of Flies, which endures for years. I mean, how old is that EP now? 26 years old?
Yeah.
Still regularly listen to that EP, you know. All this, I mean, it's just... And you know the worst thing? Apparently we're going to get more of these.
I'm sure we are.
Because
you can shit them out in a fucking week.
No. They've actually said they're planning to release a series of albums this year. So it sounds like... Do you remember that period, we've talked about them already, but that period when John Frusciante released something like 12 albums in one year. Now, I generally, you know, quite like John Frusciante, but my God, he was just like, every time I pick up a guitar, I'm going to record it, and then I'm just going to release it and charge people money for it. I mean, I suppose they're not charging people money for this in the traditional sense anymore. And I think there's just such a level of cynicism I find with Bring Me generally. I said this a lot during the Ammo review, but I feel like they've put a 24-minute song on there, not for any sense of artistic merit whatsoever, but purely as a talking point, so that websites and people on Twitter and Instagram, the gram, and so on and so forth will say, oh my God, there's a 24-minute song on the Bring Me, and then people will go to check it out, and then the numbers go up, and I think
you never get through that.
I think you only have to get through 6 seconds for them to get the admittedly minuscule amount of money for it. But you know, I think that's why Bring Me have a ridiculous number of collaborators on their albums now, collaborations, because that helps you get into other Spotify playlists. And like pretty much every single move I see them doing it. I see it as a marketing move rather than a creative, artistic move.
Yeah.
And that is the most infuriating thing about Bring Me, because when they do concentrate on the artistic stuff, they are capable of good stuff, of great stuff actually. But they just don't, they seem to be going further and further away from that.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I think they are a band who, I mean, all the stuff I said that I liked about Sempiternal was the fact that there's no fat on Sempiternal, and they get that balance of what they used to be with sounding something modern. They get it so right, and they wrote really, really good, catchy songs, and and it's brilliant. And they can do that. They can, you know what I mean? Like, they don't need to write these weird mixtapes, and they don't need to but it all depends. I mean, it depends what you want, doesn't it? I mean, we talked about stuff like the JPEG Mafia album last year, and it feels like everybody's got to have a feature these days.
Yeah,
that's
it.
You see people who are into rock and metal and stuff, and they say, why can't we be more like hip hop and do these massive features and do blah 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 and do this and do that? And it's like, well, yeah, you can, but it's a completely different. This is a completely different medium, and obviously, Bring Me have thrown themselves kind of 2 foot into it. They've absolutely thrown themselves into it. I don't have a problem with them doing that, but it's just not. I find the majority of that stuff very, very dull.
I agree.
You've got to be fucking good to get away. I think you've got to be really good to get away with it. I think the stuff that's worked, like, again, to mention for the billionth time, to mention the Clipping album, those guys from the people who make the music in that band, before you even talk about getting the vocalists in, they are hugely skilled and schooled in and aware of the type of music, of like noise music and avant-garde kind of, weird shit from years and years. I saw a video with them.
They have something to say as well.
They've definitely got something got something to say. But the two guys who, the two DJs are like, I saw a video like their Amoeba Music, What's in My Bag, and they were pulling out all these old like fucking weird classical album, neo-classical albums, and weird like noise albums and stuff, and you just go, well, you're well aware of the type of thing that you want to make. Whereas Bring Me the Horizon, you're a deathcore band and you suddenly gone, metal fans don't like us, and we've got this guy who's a good, he's good at his electronics, so let's try and make something really zeitgeisty.
Well, I don't think you can accuse Bring Me of not having a broad taste in music, because they do appear to have that.
Yeah.
But but the manner in which they utilise that just feels enormously cynical to me. Yeah. And I think if this had been surprise released in the manner that it had been and all that stuff, and 8 tracks long and 30, 35, maybe 40 minutes tops, and all of the ideas had been condensed down, I would have been probably pretty kind to it, and I probably, I almost certainly would have said, look, this isn't really for me, but I really admire the fact that they're experimenting and trying something new. I still admire that in a way, but it's injected with such a massive dose of cynicism, and
the results are pretty disastrous.
And the results, especially when you elongate these pretty shit ideas in the first place to 24 minutes, 10 minutes, are just fucking awful, and it's a massive waste of everyone's time.
So there you go. Music to listen to, etc., etc., etc. by Bring Me the Horizon has been out for a little while. I'm sure if you're a fan, you've already listened to it, and you probably don't give a shit what we say either way. And you probably aren't listening to this podcast, actually. If you're a massive new Bring Me the Horizon fan, you probably couldn't give a fuck what we think. And that's absolutely fine. Enjoy that. I would agree with pretty much everything you said there. I think we're both on the same page.
Yeah.
It's not great, that. Anyway, let's move on to our next record. It comes from Dinosaur Pileup. Sorry, hold on. No, it's Beach Slang, the deadbeat bang of Heartbreak City, the 4th record from the Heartland punk rockers from Pennsylvania.
3rd, but it's fine.
No, it's not. It's their 4th, but they changed their name on the last one, didn't they? It was a different name.
But the reason that doesn't count is because that was a reworking album of like acoustic tracks and so on and so forth.
Oh, that still counts, surely. I would say that counts.
All right. Well, let's just go.
It doesn't matter.
Let's just go back to the Dinosaur Pileup thing. I think you've done this on purpose because Steve knows that I fucking adore this band. I love them so much. I have a what I would call a profound connection with them. And you can. How familiar are you with Beach Slang? Their previous
not
work?
really. I'm not really that familiar, to be honest. I know I did listen to the last one.
I will say,
it didn't grab me that much because I don't remember.
Yeah,
about it.
very, very, very brief rundown of their catalogue. Their debut album, I thought, is 20-something minutes of utter perfection, and I adore it. It was actually in my long list for albums of the decade. I love it that much. A Loud Bash of Teenage Feelings was a follow-up which had fleetingly good moments, but didn't quite recapture the magic. And then they released this Quiet Slang record, which is actually sort of acousticy, piano-y reworkings of their stuff, and it's actually really nice.
Still counts as an album.
Fine. So I like most of Beach Slang stuff, but their last album of new material, let's say, how about that, was a bit of a disappointment for me. So I was a little bit trepidatious coming into this.
You shouldn't have been.
No.
You shouldn't have been. I mean, it does sound like Dinosaur Pileup. Let's get this out of the way. This is fucking 80s. The 80s glam rock is back in a big way. I don't remember them sounding like this.
I would say this is the punkiest record Beach Slang have ever released.
I think maybe, if you want a real comparison, the Dirty Nil is probably...
Oh, I see. Rather than your Dinosaur Pile-Up. Well,
Yeah. I think it's probably closer in reality to the Dirty Nil. When the Dirty Nil go, full sort of punky.
I understand what you're saying with Dinosaur Pile-Up. The difference is Dinosaur Pile-Up, as you readily admitted in Albums of the Year, write about getting drunk and...
So does this.
Well, no. But getting drunk in a kind of frat house American Pie way, whereas this is sort of John Hughes. This has heart, and it's John Hughes infused with like Bukowski. I mean, James Alex, the front man, he's a walking book of quotes, basically. He's a fucking joy to interview. I've interviewed James many times, 2, 3, 4 times, something like that. And he just comes out with these phrases and you're like, oh, brilliant. Well, that's going to make my piece. Like, you have to do no work with James because you just have to edit what he's saying because it's all gold. And he just has this... I think I'm really passionate. They just really speak to me. We talked about bands who really speak to you or bands who don't. There's a deadbeat kind of poeticism with James Alex's lyrics, which I don't... which has elements of other artists. It has elements of Springsteen. It has elements of, I don't know,
On this album, it has elements of Don Henley. Huey Lewis and the News, Journey, AOR.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Massive AOR vibes.
Yeah.
Listen, great.
It's brilliant. No, it's excellent. It's a wicked... I mean, even the title, like, in terms of doing a decent title, this album's called The Deadbeat Bang of Heartbreak City.
Yeah, it's a brilliant title.
I mean, that's how you do a great title, Bring Me the Horizon.
And the front cover looks like it came out in 1983.
Yeah.
And it looks like the sort of thing that would have come out in 1983. Before you kick off into it, Renfrew, and you get kind of pissy about it, like, I'm just going to mention, just because, like, the Dinosaur Pile-Up comparison to me is not an insult in any way whatsoever.
No, I know it's not.
It's my top 10 records of the year.
And I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, Born to Raise Hell, I wouldn't say that's less Dinosaur Pile-Up and more Airborne.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a surprising amount of AC/DC on this record, actually. Yeah,
I mean, AC/DC and Aerosmith and like there's
Bang Bang Rang has a lot of
like
AC/DC.
loads of sort of 70s hard rock on it and 80s AOR pop as well. Like Bryan Adams.
Yep.
Got loads of Bryan Adams on it.
All I'm saying is I prefer this to that stuff because at the center of it, at the heart of it, you have a fucking poet as well. And that adds an extra layer and an extra dimension for me. But I totally agree with everything you're saying. So,
well, I think something like Don Henley, like Boys of Summer.
Lovely song. I mean, I was thinking more AC/DC and stuff like that. But yeah. I mean, some of this stuff is just really hits. Like, he's just so good with one-liners. I'm a skeleton wrapped in gasoline. I'm a one-way ticket on a nowhere bus. Before you toss my bones away and make sure I look pretty laying in my grave. He has amazing one-liner.
Yeah, I mean, actually, 12 bar No One's Shoelace that plays in a song on this is where you do go, okay, this isn't just some silly rock album. And actually, that little run of Nobody Say Nothing and Nowhere Bus back to back in the middle of the record.
Yeah, excellent.
That is the sort of thing that most, like, probably even Dinosaur Pile-Up, who I really, really like, I don't think they'd be capable of writing a song like that.
Exactly.
I do think, this is that they can do something that those bands can't do. They can do something that bands like the Menzingers or Hold Steady or Gaslight Anthem can do as well.
They're a brilliant mix of those two things. That's why I love them. And that's why I put them above a lot of those kind of bands because they do both and they do both brilliantly.
I was quite shocked at the sound of this record to begin with because it's not what I expected it to be in any way at all. When I first put it on, I was like, oh my God, like something like Tommy in the 80s.
Oh yeah,
which is amazing. But it does sound like it's just been plucked, like you say, straight out of a John Hughes soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. But my first sort of run through it, I was like, oh wow, this is not what I expected at all, but cool. Like, who doesn't like, who doesn't like rock music.
It is a subtle. I'd say this album is a subtle shift with what Beach Slang do. I don't think it's a gigantic shift, but it is the AOR.
Yeah.
It is the AOR elements that have been added. I would say.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, because we were talking about Tommy in the '80s, and just to give you an idea of the way James Alex speaks. I mean, this is from the press release, but it's dedicated to the American singer-songwriter Tommy Keene.
Okay.
Who I didn't know, I have to confess, but he passed away in November 2017. They said, we were on tour somewhere outside of St. Louis. I was sitting on a scratchy hotel chair trying to write something. Nothing came. Charlie, their band manager, hello Charlie, walked over, real still, and told me Tommy Keene died. I went all the way numb. You grow tired of the wrong people dying. I took the Saturday night bit from Nothing Can Change You. I took the title from Warren in the 60s. I took the horn part from Deep Six Saturday and the thump from Turning on Blue. Look, if you don't dig this thing, no sweat. Just listen to Tommy's records. They're the blueprint for all of it. Tommy, I hope I did real right by you, man. You're the real life goods and an absurdly sweet heart, and this thing is for you.
Oh, that's nice.
It is lovely, and I just love the way I went all the way numb. He just has this way of speaking, which is just poetry. I fucking love it. And he is... there were quite a lot of people who were mainly... Americans, I think, who were very, very cynical about it when Beach Slang sort of hit. But having met James a few times, that is what he's like. That is how he talks. Like he is like a character in a John Hughes film, actually. But he's the really fucking cool character, And I just he is such an important, vital part of this band, his personality and his heart on sleeve goodwill, I suppose. And it just warms my heart listening to Beach Slang stuff when they get it right, which they do most of the time. I would say Loud Bash of Teenage Feelings is the only ho-hum. I don't even think it's a bad album. I just think it's not up to scratch compared to the rest of their discography.
Yeah.
When they get it right, it's just some of the most sort of vivacious joie de vivre kind of rock music being made today. I love it. I love it. It makes me happy to be alive listening to Beach Slang records.
It's really, really, I really like this a lot.
It's wonderful.
Really great.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, like you said, the AOR thing, it's been, I've not really heard anyone try and do sort of ape that type of thing since it was happening.
Yeah. But,
you know what I mean? No one really does that.
I've never really been a massive AOR fan at all, really, but I prefer this to most of that AOR stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a punky vibe to it. If you take a song like Bam Rang Rang, that is...
Or Born to Raise Hell.
Born to Raise Hell.
Like a lot of it rages, like Let It Ride, Bam Rang Rang, Stiff, Born to Raise Hell.
Stiff is so fucking...
Coming off the back of two quite melodic, slow, somber songs, it just goes whoom, like it sort of injects it with this nitroglycerine, sixth gear that just goes vroom straight into
I always imagine Stiff is soundtracking like the part in West Side Story where the two gangs come together for the first time, but it's like a punk version of that.
Yeah, wicked.
This is just a wicked record, and if it fails to put a smile on your face, you have no heart.
Yeah. And that last song is
beautiful.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
That is fucking brilliant.
Very big Quiet Slang vibes, that one. I wonder if you'd like Quiet Slang, because the thing is I know you in the past you have spoken about how you don't like sort of acoustical, piano-y, reworked versions of songs. But I think
only when it's like, we did Welcome to the Jungle with fucking some like pithy singer-songwriter for the John Lewis advert. Do you know what I mean? I don't like that shit.
I thought Quiet Slang was a really successful attempt at that sort of thing.
But people reworking their own material and, turning it into like slower whatever or acoustic versions. I've got no problem with that.
There's versions of songs on Quiet Slang from a Loud Bash of Teenage Feelings where I prefer the quiet versions to the other versions. So, I don't know. Okay, cool. Pro tip.
Well, anyway, I would say for the first very, very good record of the decade.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very, very good. I'm not going to say anything like, this will be in my top 20 coming in the year, because who fucking knows? I said that too much too early last year. But I don't I don't see me not listening to this.
I've thought it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm bound to just listen to this all year now. Come the summer, this might be like Bob Mould.
Yeah,
Bob Mould used to listen to this all the time. It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is the Deadbeat Banger Heartbeat City by Beach Lane.
That's how you
Really
do a title.
good.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Our next release comes from Mono and A.A. Williams. It is an EP, a 2-track EP called Exit in Darkness, which is one of the songs on the EP. Mono obviously are a band who we did a special about. Renfrey went and spoke about them for 90 minutes?
90 minutes or so.
Yeah.
With A.A. Williams,
With
funnily
A.A.
enough.
Williams.
Joe Quayle and Serena from Svalbard. Oh, did that
Jinx.
together.
So obviously Japanese post-rock legends and one of the UK's hottest upcoming artists, one of the best. I think we collaboratively said that this is the A.A. Williams EP last year was the best EP of the year.
Yes.
But funnily enough, we reviewed the Mono album last year, and it's really the first time I'd listened to Mono, and I did not enjoy that.
You were not a fan of it
at
all, were
I didn't
you?
like it. I thought it was well boring.
I will say, maybe this is a conversation for off mic. I went to see Mono at the Barbican just before Christmas, and by the way, they were fucking amazing with Alcest supporting as well. Alcest came on and were incredible, and I was like, oh god, I wonder if Mono are going to be able to follow that. No worries at all. Right. I mean, they did have a orchestra with them, which helped. But it was sublime. Actually, one of the best gigs I went to last year, I'd say.
Right. Okay.
And easily the best time I've ever seen Mono. It is nice sitting down watching Mono. I will say that. Our mutual friend Joe Nunn from Nuclear Blast, 12-year-old boy, constantly mocks me for my love of post-rock because he doesn't like slow things. He likes things which are fast and heavy and beatdowns and stuff like that. And he was there because he was there for Alcest. So I was like, stay for Mono, mate. Just stay for one song. It's, only 15 minutes out of your life. And he stayed for the whole set and he said it was fucking amazing. So there is hope.
Well, there's this. I mean...
There's also this.
This is really, really good.
It's fucking great, isn't it?
Again, it's only 16 minutes.
Yeah. This is how you do an EP. Bring Me the Horizon. Don't do your 75-minute bullshit.
Yeah.
This is. It feels unfair to say this is 10 times better than the Bring Me. This is 200 times better than the Bring Me.
Way better.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's a very different type of music. But
it is, but
it's good.
It feels like there is as much going on in this than there is in that Bring Me Horizon.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? Now, my sort of criticism of Mono before was actually that the pace felt so glacial and so slow that I really struggled with that. Now, I think the title track is great.
Yeah.
But it's the sort of shimmering, ghostly second track, Winter Light, which is around 10 minutes, which is the one for me here.
That's really interesting because I would say, I mean, I don't have any knowledge as to whether this is the case or not, but it feels to me, this feels to me like a split single release more than anything, in that it feels like the first song is like an A.A. Williams song and the second song is a Mono song. Both of them are collaborations and they have both artists on, but that's kind of the feel of it. So, because I was coming in here thinking I was going to have to defend Winter Light, but
no, I think it's great. I mean,
it's amazing.
I think because, I can deal with that glacial pace and I can pick out more sonic elements to it when you get such a distinctive, interesting, enthralling vocal behind it. And A.A. Williams brings this really amazing, haunting quality to that song that just really feels like a doorway into letting everything else that Mono are doing kind of envelop you. And I'm not saying that they don't do that on the first track. I think the first track is good, but like you say, it feels a little bit more, a bit more sort of not. I don't want to say bog standard, but a bit more kind of. It feels like a normal type of song,
a more traditional song
structure. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Whereas the second one is
more of a post-rock structure.
Yeah, and a really interesting trip.
Funnily enough, I mean, not that it's a competition, not that it matters, because both of these songs are fucking brilliant, but I actually prefer the first song to the second song.
There we go.
How strange.
Funny, isn't it?
I think Exit in Darkness is one of the most beautiful songs Alex has put her name to, actually. She did actually come out and play it with Mono, and it was one of the highlights of the show as well. It's just A.A. Williams being A.A. Williams and being brilliant as per, but when the strings come in on that song about 3 minutes in, it melts my heart every single time.
Yeah, those strings are great.
Oh, those strings. And yeah, it's just everything we said about that EP, the manner in which she's not afraid to use silence and she's not scared of using that, and things, the dynamics of it, and I just think, yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And again, it feels like, not to really like stamp on the, what's left of that Bring Me the Horizon EP, but when you see featuring on that Bring Me the Horizon EP, what a lot of it is, I mean, like, I was, Lotus Eater, and then for 10 seconds they go, 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 and then they're gone.
This is
it's
a true
not really a collaboration,
is
it? You've just kind of thrown a bit of Lotus Eater in there. And like the Halsey bit, you just think like she's turned up and probably, well, not even turned up.
I don't doubt she's turned up,
Yeah, she's probably just emailed her stuff across.
Yeah.
Whereas this feels like they've got in a room together and have created this from scratch completely.
Yes. It feels
and
like
have a deep understanding of each other's strengths as well.
A.A. Williams has been on tour with Mono. She's played when they've done string bits and pieces. She's played cello for them and stuff like that. Quite likely, yes. I don't know for a fact if these songs were written together or not, but it definitely feels like it. Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go.
Very briefly,
tracks.
I should say that actually this EP has been out since December the 10th, I think. We were just really busy because of Christmas and all that shit. But we're kind of reviewing it now because it's getting a physical release 24th of January, I think, on the old vinyls. But you can listen to it on Spotify and all that shite now. Buy the vinyl because it'll be a lovely thing to have.
Yeah, it probably will be.
And it'll probably be limited edition and sell out super quick and all that shite.
There you go. Exit in Darkness by Mono and A.A. Williams is out now. It's been out for a while. Our last records. Music for Working Out. This is the fourth record from the Norwegian electro post-pop duo.
Okay, on this record, yes. They have an interesting habit of changing their sound pretty much with every record.
Okay, well, let me get started on this then because I never heard of these guys before.
Okay.
So I knew nothing about this. I presumed it was going to be some sort of post-rock instrumental thing. I got the instrumental right.
You were half right, I would say. Yes. I would say for this album, I would say the closest match is a band like Battles, maybe. Are you familiar with Battles?
I am familiar with Battles.
I mean, on this album, there's a little bit of Daft Punk thrown in there, I'd even say.
A lot of Daft Punk thrown in there.
So this is by far the sort of danciest of their records. I'm not familiar with all their albums, but their first album was more of a kind of indie kind of vibe. But the thing that always typifies the band is they use a lot of loops. They are a two-piece, but they don't sound like it, do they? Because the manner in which they build up these songs and, they become very, very big very, very quickly. I had a distinct feeling that you would be quite a fan of this because there's a lot of 80s in it.
I fucking love this shit. I fucking love this record. It is good. Brilliant.
Would you use it to work out?
Oh yeah, mate. Do you know what? I think I've spoken before about the guys I work with, and anything that gets a little bit difficult, they get really, really like, what the fuck is it? Why isn't it just 3.5 minutes and the chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus? Why? I put this on, right?
Oh, right.
The other day, and they were like, you could see him sort of going, and then one of them went, what's this shit? And I went, it's funky, innit? And they all went, yeah, it is really funky, actually.
It's lots of funk on this.
It's really, really funky.
There's lots of disco on this, I think.
Yeah, loads of disco. Like you say, loads of 80s.
A lot of it sounds like it's soundtracking a 80s sci-fi film, probably starring Arnold Schwarzenegger
It's not a million. It's almost like
or Jean-Claude Van Damme
it's like Floating Points got hold of.
or Chuck Norris.
You don't have to name every single one of them. It's like Floating Points got hold of like Carpenter Brute or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's so catchy, and then they will occasionally just go,
good.
yeah, we're going to be weird for a bit. Like, what's it? Ponzu Psycho.
Yes, has that
Right?
really weird noise bit.
It's like,
in the
it's
middle.
really good, and then suddenly it just goes. It's like, oh, guys, like the club is being closed. It's like last orders at the bar, everyone out of the club.
Yeah.
But, you know, Flat Beats, fucking great. Don't Hassle the Hoff, so good.
Don't Hassle the
Christmas
Hoff's
Eve.
great.
I think this whole album, like Hard Dance Brainier, is great. Like every single one of these songs, basically, and the way Spice Girls ends as well.
The song
Spice.
Don't
Girls.
worry, the band aren't the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think even the end of Spice Girls won't be as good as the end of the song Spice Girls. The end of the Spice Girls, which is something we all can't wait for, I'm sure, is not going to be as good as like. It just seems like they fucking rattle out that riff, this really funky, like liquid bass riff. For so long, you're like, this is good. They do the Stuart Lee trick of going, this is great. Oh, it's gone on too long now. Oh God, it's going on so long. Oh, it's going on so long. Oh, great, he's still doing it. Oh, actually, no, it's gone back to being good again now. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I love this record. I think it's absolutely excellent.
Bearing in mind this is more in my wheelhouse. I mean, undoubtedly, this is a band I found at Arctangent. Surprise, surprise. I like it, but I suppose because of where they're pulling their influences from for this album, and the fact that they don't tend to be things that I like, it's my least favourite of the Aiming for Enrique albums that I have heard. I think I've only heard this one and another one. But I think it is very good, and I think people should totally check it out.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But when I heard it, I was like, well, I have to give this to Steve because I had a feeling you would really, really like it.
This is what, when you say that And So I Watch You From Afar are the ultimate party band, this is what I imagine they should sound like. Because
Don't touch my hand, so I watch from afar.
But this is far more like party. This is far more funky and far more party than...
Not Big Things Do... No, not as party as Big Things Do Remarkable.
Nah, your head's all over the fucking shop.
I mean...
This is... I mean...
There is. Did I ever give you a Debussy Shank for trade-off?
Yeah.
I mean, they do have elements of a Debussy Shank, who I think were a massive party band as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, really fluorescent, like Smarties and 50,000 Smarties in your mouth, consuming them all at once. E-numbers. Exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does have that. It's definitely like, I suppose you say the term instrumental music and people assume more mono, really. Yeah. This is not mono. This is so far from mono. And this is proof that this genre, is it even post-rock? I mean, I don't think it is. No, it's not.
This is not post-rock. This is electro. I mean, yeah, Daft Punk's a fucking great shout.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Really good. I mean, whereas like, and you know, and they clearly they can do it as well. Whereas, you know, like, again, fucking poor Bring Me the Horizon. But whereas the Bring Me the Horizon, it felt like something that the Chemical Brothers could, like, shit out in half an hour. This feels like something that Daft Punk will hear and go, yeah, we'll put that on the album, yeah.
And they're a two-piece.
Yeah.
And apparently... they, like, generally by their fans, I think even their hardcore fans will be like, oh, they're great on record, but it's all about the live experience, supposedly.
They're playing soon as well, aren't they?
They are playing
I
very
wanna go
soon.
to that.
They've had an awful lot of touring experience for a band which a lot of people won't have heard of. They've played places like... they played the USA, India, Japan, Czech Republic, Norway, England, and Germany, which is not bad for a band who've been around for like 8 years, I think.
That's pretty good.
I think instrumental music tends to travel further afield anyway because no language barrier. But I think they have honed a ridiculously tight and amazing live show, which is incredibly technical because of the amount of looping and so on and so forth, and it's very, very impressive. So yes, I think I will go down to that.
Very, 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 very good. I think this is my favourite record of the week.
It's got to be Beach Slang for me.
I think Beach Slang is bloody great. just find this hilarious as well.
It is really funny, and I'm not saying that just because of the slightly silly song titles, which seems to be a thing in instrumental music. I'm not really sure why.
Well, because you can call it whatever you want.
Well,
call
yes.
it something interesting. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose that is why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is sort of so. Oh.
It's kitsch, isn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say camp, and I realised camp isn't quite right, but kitsch is right. Yeah, it's kitsch. What's the difference between camp and kitsch? There is a difference. Camp and kitsch, eh?
Yeah, there is a difference. I'm not gonna touch that for the second, I have to say. But anyway, but
Not touching camp.
no. Well, yeah. Anyway, it's out now. It's bloody great. I think if you want a good time to see something like, it's kind of bordering on being wacky, but I like it. There's a new Hellstorm album out this year.
Ooh.
I mean, it is a bit.
I see what you're saying, but I don't think it goes over into that territory. But yeah.
No, I was about to say, like, that will seem like a silly thing to say, as there is a new Hellstorm album coming out this year, and that's fucking wacky in the worst possible way. Whereas this is just like, oh god, what the fuck, mad.
Yeah.
But brilliant. Yeah, Music for Working Out by Aiming for Enrique is out. You should go and listen to it because it's really, really bloody good. Anyway, that's it, because we haven't got a trade-off. But we're about to get one. The last thing we're going to do is, because last time we did trade off was a fucking long time ago, and we haven't given each other an album since then.
No,
so
yeah.
Renfrey, give me an album.
Well, I thought with his return to your favourite band of all time, I was wondering if I should give you a John Frusciante solo record.
Oh, okay.
And I think my favourite is probably, and certainly one of the most acclaimed, is Shadows Collide with People by John Frusciante.
Righty. Shadows Collide by People.
With
People by John Frusciante. Sorry. I'm going to give you... now, I don't know if you'd heard this. I'm going to be guessing that you haven't. How big a fan of Paradise Lost are you?
Reasonable. You just tell me the album, I'll tell you if I've heard it.
1 second I was going to give you.
No, I've not heard it.
Right, okay. I'm going to give you 1 second from 1997 by Paradise Lost.
Lovely.
Been on a big old Paradise Lost binge last week. And, well, we'll get into that next
I like
week.
that one with the skull.
Sorry?
I like that one with the skull on the front.
Oh.
The one before Medusa.
You like the gruff stuff, don't you? You like gothic and all the growly stuff.
In terms of Paradise Lost?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Well, then this will be interesting.
Okay.
All right, cool. Anyway, well, that's it. Next week, I'm going to be talking about John Frusciante, and Renfrey's going to be talking about Paradise Lost, and going to be giving you hot takes and opinions all over the place. And also, we're going to be reviewing new music from
Trail of Dead, motherfucker.
Who we both like a lot. Thanks very much. Want to give a big shout out to Musicism. Musicism.net is where you can get your courses. 25% off in the checkout when you put the code RIOT in capitals as you exit this mortal coil.
Whoa.
Wow.
Not necessary.
Really that. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Oh, I'm a vegetarian now. Don't know. You're supposed to tell people, aren't you?
Veggie Steve.
Yeah.
You're not meant to go on about it all the time because then you lose friends.
I know. I'm just saying it once. I'll report back and let you know if that. It's just so I slim down, isn't it?
Yeah. Should we stop there?
Oh, see you later.